Bounty hunting in Star Citizen is actually supposed to be pretty different than what it is right now. As it is now, if you get a job in bounty hunting, you're basically taking the contract, flying to a place, blowing somebody up indiscriminately because you were told by some company they did something wrong. Justice. It is actually a pretty simple and solid way to experience the game right now, but that's not how it's supposed to be. It's actually supposed to be pretty in-depth with a lot of tracking and using security services and following your target on ground and all this kind of stuff that's going to require way more gameplay. Here's Chris actually talking about it back in 2020.
On the other side, the bounty hunting side, we've got some stuff long-term where, we want you to be able to track down other players, secure them, put them in your ship, take them, drop them off at the local advocacy office, and then that person wakes up in the prison, and you'd be able to hopefully track them long-term. And so we want you to sort of basically play that Mandalorian style.
Unfortunately, for like the third year in a row now, it seems it's not actually going to get into the game just yet. This was said on Star Citizen Live just last week.
Bounty Hunting V2 is actually not currently in active development. It's been backburned a bit because we've determined that there are other prerequisite features that are necessary to make it work. Things like restraints, a restraint system, quantum tracking, the ability to track people through quantum travel, FPS and ship scanning, we all know that needs additional work, and basically the law and security refactor. So when those things come online and those things are developed, then the eye of development Sauron will turn back to Bounty Hunting V2.
Sad. This actually reminds me a lot of Salvage in the fact that it was always kind of there, but we didn't get it, but also because it depends on a lot of features to make it work. So in today's Feature Watch, this is episode 3, I think, we're going to talk about Bounty Hunting V2, how much it's going to be different from what we're doing right now, and what it depends on. Thanks for coming. So looking at Bounty Hunting's development, it actually really started as a conversation back in 2019 with Tony Z's virtual AI showcase. But getting past that for now, there have actually been regular interviews over the last few years where devs have talked about certain things, generally restraints. Here is them talking about it back in 2021.
So restraints, we are talking about like adding stuff like handcuffs that would limit your movement and what you can interact with while still being awake. And sedatives. Now that we have the new actor status systems with the drugs, that's definitely something that we're looking into. Like, what type of sedatives could we add that put someone to sleep so you don't need the handcuffs?
And then again here in 2022.
Restraining is something we're looking into at the moment, and obviously Chris mentioned bounty hunting. So bounty hunting is going to be pretty difficult if you can't tie someone up in some fashion. So we don't know what restraints are going to be yet in terms of, is it going to be zip ties, is it going to be handcuffs or anything like that. But you're going to want to be able to restrain someone's arms and legs so you can not let them escape.
And finally in 2023, we were actually told that we were going to hear about Bounty Hunting V2 later in the year by Jared.
And down on the surface of Hurston, work is underway on early white box phase of local law enforcement offices, a place for players to utilize the next evolution of bounty hunting gameplay we'll discuss more about later this year.
What we ended up getting told was about those restraints at CitizenCon last year.
Okay, so with the restraints, we're going to turn him over, we're going to cuff his hands, we're going to cuff his legs.
So clearly there's a lot of effort that goes into this and a lot of focus on restraints, which kind of falls in line with the kidnapping reputation we saw a couple years ago in ISC. But overall, this seems like it's more applied than just murdering people in space. Let's go back to virtual AI, what Tony Z was talking about, the back end of this whole thing. Now, virtual AI is the idea that AI can take a name, a personality, likes and dislikes, and overall a history in the verse to become a character that you can run into multiple times. This is kind of harkening back to the Shadow of Mordor Nemesis system, if you ever played that game, where an NPC can remember you if they've encountered you before. The idea behind how virtual AI would work with bounty hunting is that they would be able to spawn these criminals who could rack up a crime sheet and move around the system, triggering different security systems and getting seen by other people. Those security systems, which we'll talk about later, would then be something that you as a player could check into to track down that target. It's not going to be as simple as just looking at a marker somewhere in the star system. You actually got to do work to find these people. And this virtual AI system was really cool because it would play on the likes and dislikes of NPCs, where they wanted to spend time, how risk averse they were. Sometimes even if that virtual AI came into the area of a player, it would actually render in the real character. So you would see this person in a ship, in a bar, at a space station, and they could be arrested, or they could just be a regular NPC roaming about doing things. The whole idea is really cool, as is a lot of the quantum simulation, and the way they talk about it is that these NPCs could eventually be assigning missions to other NPCs, so it gets a bit out there, like a lot of things we talk about on Feature Watch, but the underlying principle of virtual AI is very important to bounty hunting in that it has to be there to create our targets, to create the people we're going after, to put them in the right places and make them do the right things for a convincing game loop, because right now, they're just targets to shoot. There's also security systems, as we mentioned before, and you can see these in the game. Customs at cities are supposed to actually check you for your guns and contraband and keep you from going into the city. Air traffic control is supposed to be something that logs ships that land at any city or space station and report it to people like bounty hunters or authorities who are asking for the info. Comm arrays are in the same way. Basically, if you go within a comm arrays area, it can report to somebody that you've been there. If you do a crime there, it will tell people. This is the kind of thing that gets racked up by that virtual AI system so that you know what's actually going on. And if they're not within range of comm arrays, this is where you might find bartenders or shopkeepers out on the frontier outposts that might give you a little bit of information. That's a little bit more speculation, but I think that's the direction that it's headed in. Along with security, there's also, of course, your hacking, which is nowhere to be seen and has been delayed time and time again. In fact, the Legionnaire is a hacking ship that might not be in by the end of this year specifically because of that hacking gameplay. Then there's also non-lethal combat, which we've talked about with things like tasers and phasers and also distortion damage from ships. This needs to be much more dialed in so that you can actually detain people without killing them. It's nowhere to be seen. Finally, security personnel, they kind of suck. Right now, security personnel sucks, but they are supposed to be checking ships regularly, cargo haulers, and other types of ships coming into space stations, and that's also a way that bounties would be in a more sticky situation than they are right now when you can barely even keep these security personnel from running into space stations. Finally, there's reputation, and this does exist, but not quite to the extent that it's needed. We all know that reputation is supposed to be able to stop you from going certain places, get you in trouble in other places, represent hostility, and the deals that you can get or the places you can slip by because you know someone. These are going to be very important to a game loop like bounty hunting, obviously. Reputation is supposed to be able to define if you can carry a gun in a city, right? You have those custom security stations. Those are supposed to let bounty hunters into the city so they can hunt their targets while stopping everybody else. This is one of the big parts of reputation, and it's nowhere to be seen. Rep also kind of needs to be that long-term crime stat. It can't just be something that you're doing for jobs. We need to be able to commit a crime and then be acquitted of that crime, but still have the reputation associated with doing that crime in that area. Something that makes sure that players can't go and be a criminal, wipe that criminal sheet clean, and then go and be a peacekeeper immediately the next day. There's supposed to be some form of long-term effect to that, and reputation still isn't there yet. And then there's FPS scanning, which you should be able to scan a target, see who they are, see if they've got any charges, if they're a bounty, and if they're on the run. But you can't do that yet because FPS scanning, as we did see in CitizenCon last year, isn't in the game quite yet. And that sort of falls in line with the idea that you should probably be able to see people's reputation as it is, know at least the basic amount of what they're doing and who they're working for. At the end of the day, it's pretty obvious there's a lot of gameplay stuff that still needs to happen for bounty hunting to be a reality. If they put Bounty Hunting V2 into the game and it wasn't running on these systems, then when these systems did kick in, they'd probably break the gameplay again. We can kind of see this same thing happening with cargo hauling. They never fixed cargo hauling missions or anything else to do with it until the cargo refactor is now coming in 323.2. Suddenly, cargo missions, cargo diversity, and other types of things that have to do with it are getting worked on. To be honest, I did think that virtual AI was really the only big hang-up for this kind of system, but when I look deeper at it, it does make sense. There's a lot of gameplay stuff that needs to happen for this to make sense. And if this is going to hold the V2 moniker with Bounty Hunting V2, it needs to be able to stack up against the Squadron 42 editions we're seeing and offer a full-featured gameplay loop like we've talked about here today. Star Citizen now is not Star Citizen from 2 years ago. They can't drop gameplay systems into this anymore that don't represent the game that they want to ship. We're already starting to see this great with a different community expectation with certain things that wouldn't have been as much a problem a couple of years ago. And that is in part because they've raised the standards for themselves. But things are speeding up, and Bounty Hunting V2 releasing now would probably be worse than better, even if virtual AI was working. So, Bounty Hunting V2 is not being worked on right now, and this is probably the only time I'm going to end up talking about it this year unless it pops up in a monthly report or something. But if you want to continue to follow the development of this system, other gameplay systems like it, like refueling, refining, and exploration, which I think are also being held up by some gameplay systems, I try to cover this stuff regularly. We do these feature watches every week that look at one or two of the specifics from the previous week, but I also put out videos every week that are a little bit more polished and about the general flow of Star Citizen development, where it's headed. We do weekly streams. I also have a podcast and long-form content on my second channel and gameplay stuff going on. But ultimately, this is where I like to do my main talking. This is where I want to talk to you guys. And I'd love to hear what you think of these new pieces. I'm trying to keep them more on the news side, but I keep leaking in my opinion. Tell me what you like or dislike about them, and I'm going to try to keep them coming to you. We're still in the middle of our move. As you can see, things are starting to disappear in the background. We are almost entirely moved in, but I will be working here for the next week, so expect things to still be a little bit late, but we'll be back to normal soon. As always, thank you all for watching this. I hope you learned something new, and I'll see you in the next one.